Hey again, it's Jim from CGC Sports Illustrated, another unboxing video. Couple things before we dig into this. I try and give you guys information to keep you from making mistakes that I make. So I'm going to talk about a mistake that I made on this shipment here. CGC has 4 different tiers under which you can submit magazines to be graded, and basically it's different pricing and different speed as to how fast you'll get your issues back. So there's modern, there's economy. Economy can only be used for issues that are 1975 and before. Then there's standard, and then walkthrough. It is always a good idea that whenever you send your raw issues to CGC to be graded, send them and group them in tiers. So, and I'll tell you why. I sent this batch in, 6, 7, 8 months ago, and I had 2 issues that were economy because they were from 1975, and I had 3 issues that were modern. Well, what CGC does is they split that into 2 separate orders, essentially. So this is an unboxing video with only the economy issues that I sent in on that batch. So there's only 2 slabs in this opening. I've got another box coming in about 3 or 4 days that's going to be the 3 modern issues that I send in with that same batch. So always a good idea that whenever you send your issues in, group them into similar tiers. Couple of things. Keeps all your issues in one order and you get them all delivered and back to you and returned to you in the same batch. But it also saves you a little bit too, because I ended up having to pay extra on shipping because I've got 2 different shipping orders here. So that's just something to keep in mind when you send your issues to CGC. Send them in similar tiers. Okay, so these are 2 vintage issues. You guys know the rules, do this every time. I have no idea what the grades are. I do know what the issues are, but I haven't looked on the CGC website to see what grades I got in advance, so we're looking at this for the first time. Also, very exciting. One of these issues is the very first Sports Illustrated issue from 1954. So that's very exciting. I've never had the inaugural issue from with Eddie Matthews on the cover. It's in great shape. I don't think I have a realistic chance at a 9.8 on it. If I get a 9.8 on it, I'm going to be thrilled. I'm going to be shocked. But more thrilled because first issue at 9.8 these days is selling for about $4,000 or $5,000 and selling well and regular. The other issue is just a personal one for me. It's a Bobby Hull from the Chicago Blackhawks. I think it's his 2nd issue, and I think it's from 55, 56, 57, something like that. So these should be pretty interesting. So we'll go through these. I'm going to take a peek here and see what we got so that I know what's the front and what's the back, and I saw that. All right. First one up. Oh! I told you I was going to be more, I can't even remember what I said. I think I was going to be shocked, surprised, excited, whatever. I'm all those things. Okay, so here you got your first issue, August 16th, 1954, the inaugural Sports Illustrated issue. And I got a 9.8. I am absolutely floored at that. I thought for sure that I had a spine tick or 2 that broke color along the side. Not the case. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so great stories about this. So if you're not really versed in Sports Illustrated collecting, you may sit here and say, oh my God, how did you get a copy from 1954 that's a perfect 9.8? How does that even happen? Very interesting story. So when Sports Illustrated produced this inaugural issue, they had a sense that they were onto something kind of cool here in this magazine that they were producing. And so they took a ton of these inaugural issues and they set them aside and they put them in storage. And then several times over the years, I think it started in the late 90s and then they did it a couple of times in the early 2000s, you could buy one of those pristine copies and issues in a nice leather-bound folder and a fancy certificate of authenticity and all this sort of stuff. They ranged in price depending on which, when you bought them in the 90s or the early 2000s. Like $400, $500, $600, something like that. And so I found somebody that purchased one that way. And so it was in this leather bound case, and it was in a plastic sleeve, and it had a certificate of authenticity. And I came across one, and if I recall, I paid maybe $200 or $300 for this issue raw. Got it. Wasn't 100% pleased with it because, again, I thought it had some issues. But I love to be wrong when I get a 9.8. So there you go. Beautiful. Eddie Matthews on the cover. Sports Illustrated, first edition, at a 9.8. Highly collectible, despite the fact that there are tons of these in the market at 9.8. I want to say there's probably 50 now, maybe close to 60 copies graded at 9.8. But that hasn't slowed the demand for the issue. Like I said, these sell for about $4 or $5 grand these days. They sell frequently and they sell very well. So thrilled to death with that 9.8 on that one. Okay, last one. Again, I think this is that Bobby Hull issue. And I already am a little nervous. And I'll tell you why. And that's because I see some green on the label here. And I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But let's take a look. Okay, that's right. Okay. All right, lots to talk about here. And disappointing, and I'll talk about that. Okay, so this is Bobby Hull, January 25th, 1965. I'm a big Chicago sports guy. I've really been getting into vintage hockey lately, especially Blackhawks. This is autographed. I'm not going to go into the whole autograph thing here with CGC. They don't authenticate autographs except for part of their signature series, blah, blah, blah. What I've got here is the green qualified label. And in my opinion, the green qualified label is the kiss of death. And what CGC has basically said is, okay, there's writing on this cover, and I know that you've got it authenticated by, it looks like this is a JSA authentication there, but we don't really care about that. I'm speaking as CGC here. We don't really care about that. We're going to treat this autograph like any other writing on the cover. So when that's the case, generally speaking, if you don't specifically ask for a blue universal grade, what they do is they give you a green qualified grade. And what that means is it says, okay, we're going to pretend like this writing isn't on the cover and grade the magazine. And so they did that, and they graded it at an 8.0, and they gave me a green qualified label. For collectors, for the most part, nobody wants a green qualified label. I sent this about 6-8 months ago before I knew how to request a blue universal label. So I've done that with all of my autographed issues that I've sent in since then. And what you do is you write a little note on a sticky, put a Post-it note on the bag for the issue you're sending in. You say, hey, please downgrade this and give me a blue universal label. And so what that basically means is then they do take into effect the writing on it. You get downgraded for the writing or the autograph on the cover here, and then they give you a grade that way. I know it's really complicated. I've talked about this in depth in some of my podcasts and take a deeper dive on it. So if you want some more information there, go check out my podcasts on YouTube, and you can get some more information. Yeah, so again, how did I start this video off? I started it off, I think, by saying, I'm going to give you some information about mistakes I've made so that hopefully you don't make those mistakes. This is a mistake that I made. If you ever send in issues that are autographed, it is my recommendation to ask for a blue universal label and accept a downgraded grade for there being writing on the cover. It's just everything I've seen. Collectors are, shy away from these green qualified labels as much as possible. So keep that in mind if you're sending in autographed issues. My opinion, you want to request that blue universal label and not the green qualified label like I've got here. So where do I go from here? Okay, so what this is saying is, okay, we've given it a grade 8.0 and we've basically ignored this writing on the cover. So my guess is what I'll do from here is that I will send this back into CGC, request that I get a blue universal grade, and have them crack it open and regrade it, which unfortunately for me means another year before I'm getting this thing back in my collection again, which is disappointing because I love this cover. I love Bobby Hull. He's an all-time great Hall of Famer for the Chicago Blackhawks. And this is autographed and it's authenticated and all that stuff. But I'll end up sending this into CGC, have them crack this slab open, and regrade it with a blue universal. So this was an interesting unboxing. That's it, just 2 slabs. For as excited and as thrilled as I am with the 9.8 first issue, massively disappointed in my mistake here on this Bobby Hull. I think this is his 2nd issue from 1965. So kind of a split bag, although certainly much more happy with that 9.8 than I am disappointed in this 8.0. Guys, if you're not following me on social media, go ahead and do that. Just search for CGC. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, eBay. We've got a Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search groups for CGC Sports Illustrated. Drop a like here on YouTube and a comment. And do me a favor, subscribe here on YouTube. I'm starting to get back. I've got kind of a rhythm here where I'm going to be starting to do more unboxing videos as these issues that I've sent to CGC over the last year are now going to start coming in. So you'll see a lot more unboxing videos. I think these kind of tend to be my most popular videos, so I want to do as many of them as I can. Follow me on social, subscribe here on YouTube, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks.